Hello, today, as always, we are embarking on a journey into one of history's most enduring mysteries. To understand the tragedy of the Titanic, we must first go back to the place of its birth, the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast. Imagine the year 1909. The world was changing rapidly, and the British Empire was at the peak of its industrial might. Here, amidst the deafening roar of hammers and the blinding sparks of white-hot rivets, a dream of steel was being forged. The White Star Line wanted to create something the world had never seen, not just a ship, but a floating continent. Over 15,000 men worked on this colossal structure, climbing wooden scaffolds that reached toward the clouds. It was a dangerous, breathtaking ballet of engineering. Every steel plate was a symbol of human ego, and every bolt was driven with the belief that man had finally conquered the ocean. As you walk through these phantom docks in your mind, you can almost smell the coal smoke and hear the Irish workers' songs. They weren't just building a vessel, they were building a monument to the 20th century. But beneath the pride, there was a silent warning. The sheer scale of the Titanic meant that if anything went wrong, it would be a disaster beyond human comprehension. This was the era of the great iron birds, and the Titanic was the queen of them all, a silent giant waiting to meet her destiny. Stepping onto the Titanic was like crossing a portal into another world. For the wealthy elite of 1912, this wasn't a mode of transport, it was the ultimate social stage. The interior was a masterpiece of Edwardian opulence, designed to rival the palaces of Versailles. The grand staircase, the ship's crown jewel, was carved from polished oak and adorned with an intricate clock representing honor and glory crowning time. Above it, a magnificent glass dome allowed the stars to look down upon the diamonds and silk dresses of the first-class passengers. In the dining saloon, the air was thick with the scent of expensive cigars and roasted duck. But there was another side to this palace. Deep below the luxury of the A-deck, the third-class passengers, mostly hopeful immigrants from across Europe, shared a different kind of excitement. For them, the Titanic was a ship of dreams, a golden ticket to a new life in America. They danced to violins in the steerage common rooms, their laughter echoing through the steel corridors. The ship was a vertical city, a microcosm of the rigid class system of the era. From the Turkish baths and the gymnasium to the humble bunk beds of the lower decks, every inch of the ship was buzzing with life. No one could have imagined that in just a few days, these social barriers would vanish in the face of a shared, icy grave. As the Titanic surged across the Atlantic, she was a marvel of speed and grace. But as the sun set on April 14, 1912, the atmosphere began to change. The temperature dropped at a terrifying rate, the air turning sharp and biting. The sea became unnaturally calm, like a millpond, as some survivors later described it. This was a deceptive peace. In the wireless room, operators Jack Phillips and Harold Bride were exhausted. They had been bombarded with ice warnings all day from ships like the Baltic and the Mesaba. But the technology of the time was a double-edged sword. The wireless was seen more as a luxury for passengers than a critical safety tool. Phillips, overwhelmed by personal messages for the wealthy elite, famously told the nearby ship Californian to shut up when they tried to warn of a massive ice field. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Captain Smith and his officers maintained their speed. They believed the unsinkable hull and the sharp eyes of the lookouts in the crow's nest were enough. But they were blind. The lack of moon and the mirror-like sea meant there were no waves breaking against the base of icebergs. The Titanic was steaming at 22 knots directly into a trap set by nature itself. The arrogance of the age was about to collide with the cold, hard reality of the Arctic. 11:40 p.m. A moment that would be frozen in time forever. Lookout Frederick Fleet saw a dark shape emerge from the haze, a black iceberg. He rang the warning bell 3 times, a sound that cut through the silent night like a death knell. On the bridge, First Officer Murdoch had only 37 seconds to react. He ordered hard a starboard and reversed the engines, hoping to port around the mountain of ice. For a few agonizing seconds, it looked like they might make it. But the Titanic was too large, her rudder too small. The collision wasn't a violent crash, it was a gentle shudder, a scraping sound that many passengers barely noticed. Some even laughed, playing soccer with the ice fragments that fell onto the deck. But below the waterline, the damage was mortal. The iceberg's jagged underwater tongue had sliced through the hull like a knife through parchment, opening 5 watertight compartments to the freezing sea. Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer, went below to see the truth. He saw the water pouring in with unstoppable force. He knew the math. The Titanic could float with 4 compartments flooded, but not 5. As he looked at his blueprints, he turned to Captain Smith and spoke the words that ended the dream. "She is a mathematical certainty. She will sink." The unsinkable ship had less than 3 hours to live. The order was given, women and children first. But this seemingly simple command unleashed a new wave of chaos and confusion across the Titanic's decks. The ship carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for just 1,178 people, barely half of the over 2,200 souls on board. This gross inadequacy was a grim testament to the overconfidence in the ship's unsinkable reputation and outdated regulations. As the deck began to list, passengers struggled to understand the urgency. Many resisted leaving the warmth and perceived safety of the brightly lit ship for a tiny, open boat in the pitch-black, freezing Atlantic. Some lifeboats were lowered tragically underfilled, swinging precariously as the crew, inexperienced in such an emergency, struggled to manage the davits. There was a desperate scramble for places, a chilling reflection of the class divide that had governed life on board. First-class passengers often had easier access, while many third-class families, navigating confusing corridors, found their paths blocked, their hopes for a new life dwindling with every passing minute. The sight of the half-empty lifeboats pulling away from the sinking giant would forever be etched into the memory of survivors, a haunting symbol of missed opportunities and desperate choices. Amidst the growing chaos and the chilling blasts of distress rockets, an extraordinary act of courage and grace unfolded. The Titanic's 8-member orchestra, led by Wallace Hartley, began to play. Their music, initially upbeat ragtime and waltzes, was a desperate, beautiful attempt to soothe the panic, to offer a moment of calm in the face of absolute terror. As the ship's list grew steeper, they moved from the first-class lounge to the boat deck, their melodies drifting across the cold night air. What piece they played last remains a subject of debate. Some say "Nearer, My God," to Thee, others "Autumn," but the image of these men, bravely playing on as their world literally tilted into oblivion, has become one of the most poignant symbols of the tragedy. They knew their fate was sealed. There were no lifeboats for them. Their music was a final act of service, a testament to the power of art to provide solace even in humanity's darkest hour. Their sacrifice, a quiet defiance against the inevitable, resonates through history, a beautiful, tragic farewell. The final moments of the Titanic were not sudden, but a terrifying, drawn-out agony. As the ship's bow plunged deeper and deeper, the stern rose higher into the night sky, a colossal finger pointing toward the indifferent stars. The deck, once a vibrant promenade, became an impossible incline, forcing people to cling to anything they could. Around 2:10 a.m., the ship's internal power system, overwhelmed by the incoming water, began to fail. First, a flicker. Then, with a series of sparks and groans, all the magnificent electric lights that had illuminated the decks and grand halls for days winked out, plunging the entire vessel into absolute darkness. This was a pivotal moment of sheer terror. The sudden loss of light was not just practical, it was symbolic. It marked the end of hope for many, extinguishing the last vestiges of human warmth and order on board. The silence that followed the sudden darkness was punctuated only by the terrifying sounds of breaking glass, snapping steel, and the desperate cries of those still clinging to the decks. The illusion of safety and grandeur was gone, replaced by the stark, terrifying reality of the icy abyss. The stress on the Titanic's colossal structure became unbearable. Designed to float, not to break, the ship was now succumbing to the immense forces of gravity and water. Around 2:18 a.m., with a thunderous roar that survivors described as 10,000 tons of scrap iron falling into the sea, the ship literally tore itself in two. The breakup point was roughly between the third and fourth funnels, just forward of the grand staircase. The bow section, already filled with water, plunged rapidly, pulling the stern section briefly vertical. It hung there, impossibly, for a few agonizing minutes, a towering monument to human hubris, its 3 remaining propellers gleaming darkly against the stars. People clung to the railings, to anything that offered a desperate hope of survival, until gravity finally claimed them. Then, with a slow, majestic, and terrifying finality, the stern too slipped beneath the waves. The unsinkable Leviathan, carrying with it over 1,000 souls, vanished from sight, swallowed by the frigid depths of the North Atlantic. The surface of the ocean became an empty, silent canvas, save for the debris and the heart-wrenching cries of those struggling in the water. In the minutes following the Titanic's disappearance, the surface of the North Atlantic transformed into a scene of unimaginable horror. Hundreds of people, having survived the sinking, now found themselves plunged into water just 28 degrees Fahrenheit, -2 degrees Celsius. The initial screams, a deafening chorus of agony and terror, filled the night. But in such frigid temperatures, hypothermia sets in rapidly. Within minutes, the body begins to shut down, muscles seize, and the ability to move vanishes. The cries gradually lessened, replaced by a terrifying, eerie silence as life faded from those who had fought so bravely. The few lifeboats that had pulled away, many still tragically half-empty, hesitated to return. The survivors in them, traumatized and cold, feared being swamped by the desperate, freezing swimmers. It was a harrowing, impossible moral dilemma. Only 5th Officer Harold Lowe, displaying incredible courage, managed to organize a rescue effort, returning with his lifeboat to pull a few souls from the brink of death. But for most, the frozen hell of the Atlantic became their final resting place, a stark reminder of humanity's vulnerability against the raw, indifferent power of nature. Against all odds, amidst the darkness and despair, a faint light emerged on the horizon. The Cunard liner RMS Carpathia, under the command of Captain Arthur Rostron, had raced through dangerous ice fields at full speed, responding to the Titanic's desperate distress calls. It was a perilous journey, but Rostron knew lives hung in the balance. Arriving around 4:10 a.m., the Carpathia was a sight of unimaginable relief for the frozen survivors in the lifeboats. Her lights, once an ordinary sight, now shone like beacons of salvation. Exhausted, frostbitten, and traumatized, the survivors were carefully brought aboard. Carpathia's crew, displaying immense compassion and efficiency, provided warmth, blankets, hot drinks, and immediate medical attention. The deck was filled with a mixture of profound relief and heartbreaking grief as families were reunited, while others searched desperately for loved ones who would never be found. The Carpathia, initially bound for warmer waters, now carried the heavy burden of 712 survivors and the chilling tale of the Titanic's final hours, heading towards New York as a vessel of both salvation and somber news. It was a testament to the enduring human spirit, even in the face of such colossal loss. As the Carpathia slowly made its way to New York, carrying its precious, shattered cargo, the world held its breath. Initial reports were chaotic and contradictory. Was the Titanic truly lost? Was it merely damaged? For days, anxious families, reporters, and government officials clung to every whisper of news. When the Carpathia finally docked in New York on April 18, the truth hit with the force of a tidal wave. Thousands of people packed the piers, straining for a glimpse of survivors, desperate for information. The sight of the traumatized passengers, their faces etched with horror, confirmed the unthinkable. The unsinkable ship was gone. The headlines screamed the tragedy across every continent, plunging the world into mourning. For an era that believed in progress and technological triumph, the Titanic's sinking was a profound shock, a brutal reminder of nature's power and human fallibility. It wasn't just a ship that sank, it was an entire age's sense of invincibility that shattered, leaving behind a profound sense of loss and disbelief. In the wake of such an unprecedented disaster, the demand for answers was immediate and overwhelming. Two major inquiries were launched, one in the United States, led by Senator William Alden Smith, and another in Great Britain. These investigations delved deep into every aspect of the tragedy, from the ship's construction and the number of lifeboats to the actions of the crew and the crucial wireless messages. Survivors, crew members, and White Star Line officials were cross-examined, their testimonies often conflicting, revealing gaps in communication, lapses in judgment, and a pervasive culture of complacency. The inquiries exposed critical flaws in maritime safety regulations, particularly regarding lifeboat capacity, wireless watch schedules, and speed warnings. The testimony of key figures, like Second Officer Charles Lightoller, provided harrowing details of the final hours. These investigations were not just about assigning blame, they were about learning lessons, ensuring that such a tragedy would never happen again. They laid the groundwork for modern international maritime safety standards, forever changing how ships would be built and operated, a grim legacy born from the icy waters of the Atlantic. For over 73 years, the final resting place of the RMS Titanic remained one of the ocean's greatest secrets. Countless expeditions searched, but the vastness of the Atlantic and the crushing depths guarded her location fiercely. Then, in 1985, a joint American-French expedition led by Dr. Robert Ballard achieved the impossible. Using a remotely operated underwater vehicle called Argo, they finally located the majestic wreck, nearly 2.5 miles, 4 kilometers, below the surface. The images sent back were both breathtaking and heartbreaking. The bow and stern sections, separated by about a third of a mile, lay on the ocean floor, surrounded by a vast debris field of personal belongings, machinery, and everyday objects. It wasn't the pristine ship of the movies, it was a rusting, decaying ghost, slowly succumbing to the deep. The discovery reignited global fascination with the Titanic, allowing us to see, for the first time, the true scale of the disaster and the poignant beauty of its final resting place. The Titanic was no longer just a story, it was a tangible, silent monument to lives lost and a powerful reminder of the ocean's enduring mystery. Since its discovery, the Titanic wreck has been a source of both scientific fascination and ethical debate. It's a vast underwater museum, a testament to human history and tragedy, but also a fragile ecosystem. Rustic-less, unique iron-eating bacteria slowly consume the ship's steel, creating intricate, delicate structures. Scientists continue to explore the wreck, using advanced submersibles and ROVs to map its every detail, trying to understand how it broke apart and what secrets it still holds. But with discovery came controversy. Is the wreck a grave site that should remain undisturbed, or a historical artifact that should be studied and preserved? The debate over salvage operations, retrieving artifacts from the ship, has raged for decades. While some argue for the preservation of historical items, others believe the wreck is a sacred tomb for the over 1,500 souls lost, deserving of peace. Regardless of the debate, the Titanic continues its slow decay, a silent guardian of the deep, reminding us that even the greatest human creations are ultimately reclaimed by nature. The story of the Titanic is not just about a ship, it's about the people aboard. Among the chaos, countless acts of courage, sacrifice, and love emerged. The unsinkable Molly Brown, who famously helped row a lifeboat and urged them to go back for more survivors. Captain Edward Smith, choosing to go down with his ship, a captain's ultimate sacrifice. Isidore and Ida Strauss, the elderly couple who refused to be separated, choosing to die together. These are just a few of the many personal stories that highlight the incredible resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable horror. The survivors carried the weight of that night with them for the rest of their lives, forever haunted by what they witnessed. Their testimonies, their memories, and their quiet strength became the living legacy of the Titanic, reminding us that every life lost was a unique story, a dream unfulfilled, a family shattered. Their voices, though fading with time, continue to echo through history, ensuring that the lessons of that night are never forgotten. Over a century later, the RMS Titanic continues to capture our imagination, woven into the fabric of popular culture and collective memory. From countless books, documentaries, and films, most famously James Cameron's epic masterpiece, the story of the Titanic has transcended a mere historical event to become a powerful myth. It's a tale of human ambition, hubris, class struggle, and ultimately, the fragility of life. The ship's legacy is immense. It directly led to the establishment of the International Ice Patrol, greatly improved maritime safety regulations, and mandated 24-hour wireless watch on all ships. But beyond regulations, the Titanic serves as a timeless allegory. It reminds us of the dangers of overconfidence, the importance of preparedness, and the profound, often tragic, consequences when technology outpaces wisdom. It teaches us about the resilience of the human spirit, the bonds formed in crisis, and the enduring power of love and sacrifice. The Titanic remains more than just a wreck at the bottom of the ocean, it is a ghost ship that sails through our consciousness, a perpetual reminder of a night that changed the world forever. As with any major historical tragedy, the Titanic's sinking has spawned its fair share of intriguing, and sometimes outlandish, conspiracy theories. One of the most persistent theories suggests that it wasn't the Titanic that sank, but its sister ship, the Olympic. Proponents claim the Olympic, which had been damaged in a previous collision, was secretly swapped with the Titanic as part of an insurance fraud scheme. Another theory points fingers at powerful financiers, alleging that the ship's sinking was orchestrated to eliminate opposition to the creation of the Federal Reserve. Then there are the more fantastical claims involving ancient curses or even alien intervention. While these theories often lack credible evidence and are frequently debunked by experts, they highlight a fundamental human need to find deeper meaning, to explain away the seemingly random nature of disaster. They tap into our collective suspicion of authority and our fascination with hidden truths. Regardless of their validity, these alternative narratives keep the Titanic story alive, adding layers of mystery and speculation to an already captivating tragedy, proving that for some, the official explanation is never quite enough. Beyond the established facts and even the conspiracy theories, the Titanic's legend is also filled with persistent myths and misconceptions. One common belief is that the ship split in two at the surface instantaneously, a dramatic image reinforced by popular culture, when in reality, it was a more drawn-out, complex structural failure. Another myth suggests that the third-class passengers were deliberately locked below deck, preventing their escape. While access was restricted and class prejudice undeniable, there is no evidence of deliberate locking. Rather, it was confusion and unfamiliarity with the ship's layout that hindered many. The romanticized idea of the ship going down heroically with lights blazing is also largely untrue. The lights failed before the final plunge, plunging the decks into terrifying darkness. Understanding these myths is crucial. It helps us separate dramatic embellishment from the brutal truth, ensuring that the real lessons and tragedies of that night are not overshadowed by popular fiction. By confronting these inaccuracies, we gain a clearer, more respectful understanding of what truly transpired aboard the ill-fated liner. Today, the Titanic continues its slow, majestic decay at the bottom of the North Atlantic. It is not merely a shipwreck, it is a profound historical site, a fragile monument to human achievement and human loss. The ocean, with its immense pressure and corrosive currents, is slowly reclaiming the vessel. Rusticless continue their work, and sections of the ship, once grand and unyielding, are now collapsing. Recent expeditions have revealed new details about the wreck's deterioration, showing the relentless march of time. Yet, even in its decay, the Titanic holds an undeniable power. It is a time capsule, preserving the last moments of an era, a silent museum filled with untold stories. Efforts are underway to protect the wreck site, recognizing its importance as a sacred grave and an invaluable archaeological treasure. The Titanic exists now as a stark reminder of our place in the natural world, a place where even the most magnificent human creations are ultimately temporary. It forces us to confront our own mortality and the enduring power of the deep, a fragile ghost ship that continues to inspire awe and reflection. As we conclude our journey through the corridors of time and the depths of the Atlantic, we find that the story of the Titanic is not just a chronicle of a sinking ship, but a reflection of ourselves. It is a story that refuses to fade because it touches every aspect of the human condition, our boundless ambition, our tragic overconfidence, and our incredible capacity for courage and sacrifice. The Titanic remains a bridge between a world of rigid class structures and the modern age that followed its wake. It serves as a permanent memento mori, a reminder of our mortality and the fact that nature, in its raw and indifferent power, knows no master. Every shoe sitting on the ocean floor, every letter recovered from the debris, represents a life that was as vibrant and filled with dreams as our own. Today, the ship is slowly returning to the earth, being consumed by the very ocean it sought to conquer. Yet, the echo of that night in April 1912 will never truly fall silent. It continues to remind us to remain humble in the face of the unknown, to cherish the lives we have, and to honor the memory of those who went down with the ship of dreams. The Titanic is no longer just a wreck, it is a ghost ship sailing through the sea of our collective memory, teaching us that even in the darkest, coldest depths, the human spirit is the one thing that can never truly be submerged. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into history. The Titanic's story is a part of us all, and your presence here keeps the memory of those 1,500 souls alive. If you found this journey meaningful, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep explorations into the mysteries of our past. Until next time, stay curious.